And I like the op-ed in the Journal today, growth is on the ballot, because that's what we speak about every morning here in terms of growth. 4% expected from the Atlanta Fed for the fourth quarter. And this is really what's at stake with now, less than 20 days away until election day.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning it. I think it is important for people to realize, because the economy's been so good lately, you can sometimes kind of take it for granted. And some political pros say this may not benefit the Republicans, because when the economy's bad is when it's really driving votes, whereas when it's good, people tend to have the sort of luxury of thinking about other issues. But it's important people realize what the alternative is here, because the tax cutting and the regulation cutting that has gotten us to this really looks like 4% growth level right now is not going to continue under a different a House, a different, possibly different Senate.
We're less than 3 weeks away from an election day, Dagan. We want to look at the top issues on the minds of voters heading into the ballot box. And we know that this can be underestimated, don't you think?
It can. Just to remind people, not one Democrat voted for the tax reform.
Right. Thank you.
One single, so they can complain about it, and they can say, oh, there were, at first they were worried that the individual tax cuts weren't permanent. You didn't vote for it. If you'd voted for it, they would be permanent, number one. And now they're worried about the deficit and the rising debt. And I think it just is hollow. It is just absolutely hollow what they're talking about. But I know that you want to get to these Fox News polls, because there's some weird stuff going on in terms of the importance of health care to voters, and even more than anything else related to the economy, the importance of health care, and also how confident people are feeling about their own personal financial futures.
According to this new Fox News poll, health care is, in fact, the top issue for voters, choosing a House candidate, followed closely by the economy, and then President Trump. All three very close. Among those saying that health care is extremely important to them, they prefer the Democratic candidate by a 24-point margin. This is some serious numbers and a serious gap here, James. Does this spell trouble for the Republicans, do you think?
Well, I think what it points out is related to what we were just talking about. It's important for voters to know what the alternative is. You have most House Democrats endorsing the Bernie Sanders single-payer health care model. This is changing health care for every single American. He calls it Medicare for all, but it's actually Medicare for none. Everyone, including people in Medicare, including people on private insurance, whatever their coverage is, they are moving into a new government system that will not allow any for-profit companies involved in the provision of health insurance plans. It's a radical shift.
It's a radical shift because you're now letting those numbskulls in Washington make decisions about your health. Who's going to get health care? Like, the quality of your health care will be based on their decisions. It's insanity, and it will bankrupt the country. Almost within a 10-year period, we would have to more than double the amount of revenue that the United States government takes in from individual and corporate taxes to pay for it.
People do not understand that. That's the issue. People don't understand, and they're not informed about this. When it comes to the economy, fewer voters are feeling confident about their personal financial future compared to 2015. So at that time, 73% felt certain. Today, the number is 68%. What's your read on this number, Dagan?
That it's wrong? I'm not criticizing the Fox News polls, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't believe these polls anymore.
That you have
all polls, not just Fox polls.
That you have a record number of job openings in this country. There are more than 900,000 more job openings than people who are unemployed in this country. It is just astonishing at how good the economy is in terms of the wage growth finally picking up. I want to get back to health care, but because there's some issues there.
Yeah, tell us about it.
The Democrats are running on pre-existing conditions. That their whole message is the Republicans want to take away your coverage for pre-existing conditions. Again, they're running on something that didn't happen.
Right.
And that's kind of strange to me. And we should point out that premiums are falling in many Obamacare plans, and that
very small. And there are some states that are going up 20%. Other states are going down 3%. But the average is down 1.5%. Yes, but it's 1%.
But this is under Republican.
I know. I'm just saying there are still some states that are up 20%.
So I'm not checking Instagram. I want to point this out that almost 50% of the Democratic ads, political ads, this election cycle are mentioning health care. Almost half. On the Republican side, it's just 21%. So it seems to suggest that this ad penetration is working in terms of running ads based on health care. If you go back to the 2014 midterms, it was 44% of Republican ads attacked Obamacare, only 31% of the Democratic ads mentioned
Which goes back to the money, right? The Democrats are out fundraising the Republicans, and then you've got a handful of really deep-pocketed Democratic donors, like a George Soros, like a Tom Steyer, like a Michael Bloomberg, and this is what it's resulting in.
Yep.
Ads.
Well, and beyond the money, it's Republicans do need to talk about this issue. They have a good story to tell in terms of what the administration is doing to make health care more affordable.
They can't even message the tax cut plan.
I know. Yeah. Fair point. But I think part of it is that Democrats are talking about it, Republicans are not, and they need to engage and really explain to people how their health care is going to change if this Sanders model, which has been endorsed by so many Democrats, goes through.
Think about it like this. Nancy Pelosi is going to be making decisions about what kind of illnesses get what kind of coverage. How long do you get to live? It does come down to that, because it will be such a financial drain on the United States that ultimately the people in Washington will make decisions about who gets to live and how long.
Yep.
That's that, and I'm not overstating.
No, you're not.
33 trillion, I think, is the figure.
Over the first 10 years.
And Maxine Waters will be making decisions on regulation after the president rolled back all of these. I mean, when you just want to talk about leadership, should the Democrats take control of the House, these are the consequences. Nancy Pelosi making decisions on your health care, Maxine Waters making decisions on regulation, which, of course, we know was one of the positives moving the needle on economic growth.